Hey everybody, welcome back to another Papa Tikyo Reacts, where yours truly, the guy without a shirt on, Papa Tikyo, a guy who's been in Japan for almost 20 years. I speak, read, and write fluent Japanese. Not as good as this guy probably in the video coming up, Mr. Dogen-san. But yeah, anyway, you guys were asking me to react to this video, and so of course I dressed up in my most formal clothing to watch this serious topic. But yeah, you guys told me you wanted me to check this video out, and I'm gonna do it, and that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this, and let me get rid of this thing here. Where do I get this? Anyway, yeah, guys, you guys told me to check out this video. Dogen's talking shit about English teaching or something, so let's check this out. Anyway, yeah, you know, full disclosure, you know, full transparency. I don't hate Dogen. I like him. You know, game respects game. This guy is he's super fluent in Japanese, and did his hair? Did he get like a hair transplant or something? And I'm not saying this in a mean way or whatever. My image of Dogen has always been he's always had a buzz cut and a baseball cap on, but his hair looks really lush and full. Maybe he went to Turkey or something. Hey, I'm not judging, dude. I'm not judging at all, man. Like, you know, hey, if people wanted to pay for liposuction for me, I'd be down, you know. But anyway, yeah, let's check out this video. Yeah, let's see what this video. I'm guessing, I haven't watched the video yet, but I'm guessing it's just about how if you come to Japan with student debt from America, you're not going to be able to pay off your student debt with the shitty yen exchange. Is that going to be it? Because it says why it will bankrupt you. But anyway, let's get into it. I bet I'll be pausing a lot through this video, so let's check it out. What's up, Cranges? What up,
You don't really know
Stargame?
Someone until money is involved.
Yeah, that's right.
The first time I heard this in high school, I laughed it off. I thought, no, I know my friends and I know my significant other. But once I moved out, I started to see truth in this statement. Once I and the people around me had to start paying for rent and utilities and food and transportation, then we'd sometimes get into arguments that never happened when we were living with our parents. Didn't I pay for gas last time? No, I'm pretty sure I did. Really? You're going to spend money on a PlayStation, but not us? I just can't afford it now, okay? I bring this up because financially induced stress is a very real thing. And there are a lot of people who love Japan that end up experiencing that stress for the first time in Japan. Of the thousands of people who move to Japan each year, many come straight from university via programs like JET and Interac. They experience their first real job and oftentimes, therefore, their first real financial responsibility and all the difficulties that come with that in Japan. That can create a perfect storm. So in today's video, the next episode of the Japan Trap miniseries.
Oh, this is a miniseries he's making?
How a bright-eyed, fresh out of university otaku can sabotage their future in Japan by ignoring or staying willfully ignorant of the current state of the Japanese economy and failing to create a financial roadmap. Because one's decision to either stay in Japan or go home will largely be determined by whether or not that person is satisfied with their life here. And one of the variables in that equation, certainly not the most important, but perhaps the easiest to quantify, is finances. You don't really know someone until money is involved. Well, that's true for Japan as well. It's easy to love Japan when you're dining on Wagyu and soaking in hot springs in Hakone. It's not so easy when you're a broke English teacher struggling to pay for rice balls and trips to the local coin laundry.
Yeah, so, he's got a sponsor for this video. Okay, I kind of see where this comes. You know, this is a thing, guys. I'll probably be releasing this video like a year after I recorded it because I've got such a backlog of reaction videos up. But you got to remember one thing, guys, and that on YouTube, the negative and videos that get you emotionally charged are the ones that get the most views and engagement for the most part. It's called rage baiting. So just keep this in mind, guys, that it's like, look, this is the second video I've reacted to Dogen for this year, I think, so far. And the first video was him being very, very, very vague. It's like, this is the thing I don't like about, like, it kind of gives me like cult leader vibes where it's like, I'm very charismatic, I'm coming off very smart, but I'm not going to give you any specific stuff to help you figure out what to do. And that was my issue with his first video, is that he never gave any concrete actual examples of advice. He was just saying, look, don't come to Japan thinking, like, don't come to Japan without a plan, you know, like, it's better to come to Japan with a plan, and you can't teach English for too long because you're going to lose, like, it's the money, there's a cap on how much money you can make working full-time as an English teacher overall. Like, 95% of the jobs, they pay shittily, so if you're going to do that, you got to do it for a little bit of time, and then get a big boy job so you can actually afford to go do stuff. I understand that, but he didn't say it like that, you know? He was just like, and then, of course, Dogen Japan was stroking his cock to that thing, you know, like, top comment, I couldn't have said it better myself, mate. Yeah, it was the best thing ever. Oh, my God, I was an ex-jet too, and I loved it. Crumpets and tea, you know, just like, so, you know, if there's anything that he does not give you specific advice on, then I will gladly give it to you throughout this video. So, yeah, let's get into it, okay? Yeah.
The first thing I want to talk about is how much you can expect to make and what exactly you can buy with the salary of an entry-level English teaching job in Japan in 2025. The JET program, the gold standard for this kind of work, pays the equivalent of approximately $27,000 US a year. But after taxes and pension and health insurance are taken out, each month you'll be left with approximately $1,850. On a program like Interac, this will be closer to $1,500. Needless to say,
are you going to bring up that the cost of living in Japan is significantly cheaper than in the U.S.? Are you going to bring that up at all? Because $1,500 is way more than enough to live off of if you're not in the city. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's livable.
While you can live in Japan, especially rural Japan, on these salaries,
okay,
you won't have a tremendous amount of wiggle room. One of the reasons for this is the exchange rate. As of right now, May 2025, the yen is hovering at around 145 yen to $1 US.
Yeah, what does that matter if you're in Japan?
Some people may hear this and say, right, but the cost of living in Japan is low. So even if I'm only making $1,800 a month, that amount of money goes a lot further in Japan than it would in a place like the United States.
Yeah.
And while there is truth to this statement, it's not the full story, because you won't always be buying domestic products. When I moved to Japan on the JET program in 2009, the yen was actually a little bit stronger than the dollar. When I bought my first iPhone halfway through my 3-year contract, it was about 50,000 yen, which was about 25% of my monthly income. The cheapest new iPhone today, the iPhone 16e, is 100,000 yen, which is almost 40% of the current monthly JET salary and 45% of that of Interac. Furthermore, there are many Japanese companies that create and price products based on world demand.
Are you going to mention at all, Dogen, that when you sign up for a phone here in Japan through a phone company, that they let you pay for that phone in installments? So instead of paying that all up front, because Japanese people are making the same wages as English teachers, if you pay for that up front, they don't need to pay for it up front. You can pay for that in installments. That's what I did with all of my smartphones and my first ever cell phone up until now. So, yeah, good job not mentioning that, by the way.
Rather than Japanese demand, which often makes these products relatively more expensive to buy in Japan.
See, this is the problem, and again, like, I don't want to sound defensive here, but Dogen is not a millionaire, but he's made a couple $100,000 up until now, thanks to his YouTube, because he has his regular job, he has his YouTube, and he has Patreon, you know, and he has sponsorships too. So the guy like built his brand new house, you know, like the guy is not, he's not hurting for money right now, if that makes sense, right? And so, and again, there's nothing wrong with making money. Like you should be able to go after your dream with making money as much as possible. But to quote Mike from Mike and Gary, best TV show ever, you know, when you don't get a job, man, because when you get a job, you get money and then you start wanting stuff. when you live here like me, when you're kind of like, when you're just like kind of scraping the surface of poverty here pretty much, you don't need to buy import things. And if you do, you buy cheap ones, you know, you buy used ones. Like I have a tablet here. It would have cost $100 or like probably more. Bought it from China, super cheap. You know, my fucking phone was an upgrade that I paid for in installments from my cell phone company. My TV, I bought it used online. You know, I bought this table. It was new, but you know, I mean, for most of the things that I buy, there are tons of ways to be frugal in Japan. So when people bring up this argument, more things are going to be expensive. Is your food going to be more expensive? Is your gasoline going to be more expensive? Is your rent going to be more expensive? Most of these people love to blow that shit out of proportion and be like, oh, lordy. But it's like, look, if it's one time or if it's 2 to 3 times more expensive, that sucks. But that's what happens in an economy. There's ups and downs, right? It's never permanently one way or another, right? And so, but the only thing that really goes up, you know, 4 to 10 times more expensive is imported shit. Tommy Hilfiger clothing, Apple fucking technology shit, like imported food, restaurants and stuff. Like those things go dramatically up. But domestically, if you're living a simple life here, nothing's really going to change that much. I mean, I have to pay a little bit more for gasoline. I have to pay a little bit more for groceries now, but it's not like it went up 10 times as much. That's when there's a real fucking problem. And yeah, I think that's just it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we had that recession in 2007, 2008 too, and I didn't feel any of that, you know. I was in the rural countryside. I was making money. I was just an English teacher. Like, I think there's a big difference between if you are making a lot of money and you're used to buying all this import stuff and then it's gone up significantly, when that stuff was not essential for you to live. That was just fun, elective shit that you were doing that you have to stop doing now because you can't afford to do it. There's a big difference. You know what I mean? Do you think it'll be a lot harder saving living in Tokyo but not rural? I think that you've got to come here with a plan, not a plan like he's saying, but it's like you need to realize it's like one of those things where it's like you don't dress sexy in a bad part of town because there's no cops around and you don't want to give a bad guy an excuse to do something to you, right? So if you're coming to Japan and you realize that most of the jobs that you get are not going to, like, they're going to pay for the bills and for like basic necessities, and then you need to make more money, then it's time to side hustle, right? Like even the first job that I got in when I was living in Chiba, like the first place I ever lived in Japan, I immediately found a part-time job teaching English at the steel mill. That was like 2 or 3, what do you call it? Like areas or wards away from my house, and that paid an extra like $400 a month. And so like I knew if I had to quit my job or something, I could at least pay for half of my rent, and or at least I could put that money in. Like I put that money into savings every month, you know. So at least, like, if I knew I lost my job, I'd have at least a couple months of rent money ready to go just in case shit like that happened, you know? You got to hustle. You can't just accept, like, you know, the thing is there's reality and then there's what reality you want to be, right? And so it's like if you accept reality as like, look, I'm going to come to Japan. I'm going to use English teaching as a stepping stone to get here. But I realize I'm going to have to hustle more. And that means doing part-time jobs, either teaching English or doing something else to make some extra income. Then you've got to realize that and you got to be okay with that. And what he's talking about is stupid people that come here and just expect everything's going to be okay, you know? But yeah, if you're not buying import shit all the time, then this isn't going to affect your daily life. But again, if you're not a person who is used to being frugal and like kind of like waiting around and stuff, and like, cause like when I go to eat out, like as you can tell by the flab and stuff, like when I go out to eat, I don't really put a limit on myself because unlike other people, I work out of the house, so I cook almost all my food at home. And so, you know, for me, it's like if I go out to eat, I'm not eating out every day. So if I go out to eat, I don't mind spending $50 on a meal or whatever because I didn't spend any money for the last 6 days of the week, you know? I got you. Yeah, something I should do, a lot of opportunities like that. Oh, yeah, dude, you'll have plenty of time to get extra side hustles if you're in Tokyo. You can do night lessons. You can do lessons on the weekend. I mean, like, fuck, dude. Like, you got to do it. Let's see.
In Japan, a PlayStation 5 costs 80,000.
See, exactly. He's talking about luxuries. This is not essential for living. You don't need a PlayStation 5. This is something where it's like, again, I'm a rich person, all right? I'm making more money. Why do I have to spend more for this? You don't. PlayStation 5 sucks anyway. It doesn't have any good games. You're in the country that has all of the retro games you could ever want to buy, and if you don't want to buy them, you could still pirate them. And it's like, oh yeah, wow, my PlayStation 5 is expensive. Who's fucking crying about not being able to buy a PlayStation 5? I'm not.
Yen. And the average monthly income for a new university graduate in Japan is 225,000 yen. This means that a new hire in Japan would have to spend approximately 35% of their monthly income to buy a PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
on the other hand, a PlayStation 5 costs approximately $500 in the United States, where if you're lucky enough to get a job straight out of university, the average monthly income is approximately $5,500. So in the United States, the same Japanese product is relatively cheaper.
In the States, though, you also have to worry about fucking unwanteds assaulting you in the street, cops being corrupt, and food products being fucked up, having a horrible healthcare system, and also you need a car to get everywhere. So there's, PlayStation's so expensive. Yeah, well, I have an infinitely better high quality life here in Japan than I ever did in the States. So I don't care if I'm making more money in the States and I can buy more shit. It's not a more fulfilling life for me there.
Just under 10% of the monthly income. Now, you can make the argument that the job market in the US is so bad right now, and it has been so bad for several years, that it's not a fair comparison. But on a minimum wage job in the United States, not a job aimed at new university graduates, a PlayStation 5 is about 40% of monthly income, real close to that 35% that we saw in Japan. This is what you need to be aware of, that buying some Japanese products like a PlayStation 5 on a Jet or Interact salary is much more like buying them on a minimum wage salary as opposed to an entry-level new graduate salary in the United States.
In the United States, the housing market, though, Dogen, is so bad that, dude, one of my best friends from college, he has a job that he's making $5,000 a month on, and he has to live with 3 other guys because the housing market is so bad in the U.S. So it's like comparing oranges to other stranger oranges that are not the same oranges. You can't compare both of them, dude. They're too different. Like in the U.S., like sure, the PlayStation is more, it's cheaper, but the housing and the price of rent in America is fucking crazy, dude. And on top of that, you need a car to get everywhere. So like you're comparing 2 different things that it's not the same.
Now, it's true that other everyday expenses in Japan, such as eggs, are relatively cheaper, so it evens out a little bit. But once again, this isn't the full story. While Japanese wages largely haven't changed for the past 30 years, the price of Japanese rice, perhaps the single most consumed product in all of Japan, doubled over just the past year. There are many reasons for this, but one of the issues that's affecting all aspects of the Japanese economy is the declining population. In Japan, there aren't enough people to fill the job vacancies. There are less farmers to grow Japanese rice. It's more expensive to move in Japan than it used to be because there are less young, strong people that can carry beds and refrigerators. It's more expensive to build a house here than it used to be because there are fewer carpenters. These prices probably look like a steal in dollars, but that's irrelevant when you're getting paid in Japanese yen, which you will be on programs like Jet and Interact. And these costs are only being exacerbated by overseas tourism. 10, 15 years ago, when the yen was stronger, Japanese people used to regularly take trips to the United States, places like Hawaii and LA and New York. But the exchange rate and the runaway inflation in the United States has made this prohibitively expensive. Moreover, it's made it much more enticing for foreigners to visit Japan, where a dollar or a euro now goes a long way. This has changed the landscape. Many of the medium to high-end restaurants in places like Tokyo, Osaka, etc. that used to be full of Japanese salarymen at noon are now filled with almost exclusively foreign tourists. There's enough demand from foreign tourists for restaurants to raise their prices. But if they do this, it often means that the locals, Japanese people and foreigners living in Japan and getting paid in yen, can no longer afford to go. And this goes well beyond restaurants. If you want to take a trip to Tokyo during your first year here, be prepared to pay a lot for a hotel because more and more the hotels are orienting toward foreign tourists. Along those lines, don't expect to be able to take a trip back home during your time on Jet or Interac unless you can have everything except your plane ticket paid for. A simple 10-day trip back home for Christmas. That could easily, between the combination of the flight back home, food back home, tips on that food, gas to drive around town and see your friends, that could easily wipe out everything you've saved during your first 4 or 5 months in Japan.
Again, he's talking as if this is permanent, that it's going to be like this 20 years from now, which even if it is, there's no way to 100% clearly predict that now, right? So he's talking in what ifs. Like what if this is like this 10 or 20 years from now? What if you can't go home and spend money? And I just, again, this is one of those things where it's a luxury. It's not an essential part of living here. It's like, oh, well, you if you travel, it's going to be expensive. There are still plenty of cheap places to find, but it means that you can't go to the fucking super touristy spots now. You know, it means that you might have to travel to some places that don't get that many tourists, which might be nice because you won't be around other tourists, you know. You might not be able to fly home. Are you flying home the first year or two? That sounds like a very privileged position to be in. I don't know about you, but if you need to visit home after the first year or two of living here, you probably shouldn't move to another country. Or if you do, you need to fucking come here with the mentality that you're probably not going to go home for a couple of years. And that's fine, you know? So what he's saying again is like, it's a luxury. It's not an essential, you know? And as for these restaurants raising their prices for tourists, that means if it's like Thailand and it just stays that way forever where the yen is weak. But again, you can't confirm or deny that yet, right? But I'd rather be optimistic about this and hope that the yen recovers and then more Japanese people will be able to travel again and go abroad again. Like nothing ever stays the same, you know? Including this at the moment. It's hard to even find work in the USA. So many people like me just graduate, can't find anything. Yeah, you know, he doesn't even put that into an account. Does this guy have any data to back up the Hawaii comment? I was just there in March and it was half Japanese. Well, Hawaii is good for rich Japanese people, and a lot of Japanese people immigrated to Hawaii early on, right? Like even my other friend Sammy, she's living there with her Japanese husband, and they've been there for a while, so I don't know. Hi from Venezuela. What's up, dude? How's it going? Yeah. Get my big thermos of tea going on. But I'm saying again, guys, that it's like, as long as you're not doing anything luxury, like traveling to popular places, I mean, like, there's always going to be times where there's ups and downs in life, you know, where you're not going to be able to spend as much money as you can. But again, this is coming from kind of like a privileged, I wouldn't say Dogen's rich, but I'd say he's upper middle class for sure. And I mean the way he was raised, and I also mean like currently right now. I don't know what his wife does for a living, but I know he makes quite a comfortable bit of money. So, you know, like, again, this sounds like rich people or people with a lot more money than me complaining that they can't do regular things. And like, again, like if you're coming to Japan, you're not coming here for the salary. You're not coming here for money. You're coming because you love the country and you love what the country offers you in terms of lifestyle and people. So it's like the priorities are all whack from what he's talking about, in my opinion.
And none of this includes what I think is the most dangerous element of all, which is student debt. A lot of new graduates, primarily those from the United States, end up leaving university with tens of thousands of dollars in student debt. To be clear, this isn't because they weren't being careful. The price of higher education in the United States has
it's gone up.
Exploded
Okay, that is
over
one
the past
thing.
few decades. And you can't come to Japan on Jet or Interac without a college degree. So it's not fair to blame the young people who are just trying to follow the rules that the older generations created. That being said, if you are one of those young people, you need to be aware that trying to pay off US debt in Japanese yen will not be easy. The moment you step foot in Japan and start getting paid in Japanese yen, your debt essentially goes up by 50%. That's just the exchange.
Okay, I didn't factor in that part. But the thing is, guys, is that if you are coming over here if you have student debt, if you have a significant amount of student debt, then yeah, it's like you want to pay that off immediately, then yeah, it's probably better if you go to another country like China or Vietnam where you can make more money and live cheaper and then just send that money abroad. But if you're on like a repayment plan for like any kind of debt, you can always, what do you call it, refinance or whatever to make it more manageable to pay, right? So I don't know the specifics of that, but there is a way probably for you to do that. I'd have to, I don't know. You guys would probably have to chat GPT that versus taking my my word for that. But yeah, it's just my opinion. I'm fine. I'm good. I don't know how to say respect. Say respect to you. I'm doing all right. You learn Japanese, right? I live in Japan, dude. 20K in debt. Yep. Shit. Well, I mean, that's still better than, like, my one roommate. He did, like, study abroad in, like, Scotland or whatever, and, like, for his bachelor's and master's, and it was, like, over 200K. And I don't know if he's going to be able to pay that back. So let's see.
That's right. It doesn't take into account international transfer fees, which can also be substantial. Now, I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm not saying any of this.
You are fearmongering. You are rage baiting.
In fact,
you don't want people
the
to
opposite.
come to Japan.
Japan would benefit from more people that love the country, deeply respect the culture, and are happy to work here across professions. I'm saying it again because financially induced stress is a very real thing. And given the state of the Japanese economy, if you're not mindful of your finances from the moment you arrive, you could easily get blindsided by that stress. And that stress, it could come at the worst time when you're already dealing with an equally difficult situation caused by cultural misunderstandings or homesickness or something entirely out of your control like a car accident. It could come at the end of your Japan honeymoon phase. You might wake up one day and realize that Japan does have problems. Moving here didn't get rid of yours. And despite the fact that you've been working diligently for a year and a half and not living extravagantly, you've got little to nothing to show for it. That is the perfect storm. That's the difference between...
Again, I don't know, like, aside from creating like a very clickbaity, rage baiting like video title, why teaching English in Japan could bankrupt you, like, again, I don't know why, like, he's already way past that point in his life where he was an English teacher where he has to, I mean, like, to me this sounds like like, this sounds like common sense, and like, this is one of those things I always tell people, like, just because you graduated college doesn't mean that you're smart, like, you could like if you're gonna come to another place where you're living on your own and it's a completely different country where you don't speak the language at all, where you've never lived there, like, there's a lot of things that you are going to catch you off guard. But we live in the 2020s right now where you could easily Google anything, and you have ChatGPT where you could set up a bullet point plan on how to deal with this stuff. And just to assume that young people are so stupid, well, I mean, I don't know. A little bit of that left-leaning Biden crowd are probably too stupid to figure this out. Oh, shots fired! But for the common sense having people here that don't rely on anybody to come and help them, I don't think so. Like, I think they'll be fine. But yeah, is he gatekeeping? I don't think he's gatekeeping, but I think he's just fear-mongering for rage bait clicks, in my opinion. Yeah, because that's not really, again, like, he's talking about people that are coming here that are insecure, have no plan, and they're just mentally too much in their head, and they don't go outside and touch grass enough. And it's just like, he could have made this video a lot more clear versus coming off like again, this kind of comes off like cult leadery stuff, like, if you wanted to give straight up data, you can make a straight up data video about this, but nobody's going to click on those because nobody cares. So he has to make like a PSA, like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are, kind of thing, where it's like, okay, you got me hooked. Where are my kids? I don't have kids. Where are they? It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But it's just like when Logan Paul, like if you guys ever watched Logan Paul, I used to watch Logan Paul back in the day a lot. And I remember his roommate, I was thinking about this the other day, his roommate got like a dog, right? And it was like a cute little pit bull, and he got it for like a little bit, and then he took it in to get to like have a surgery for the dog, right? Like the dog had something, I forgot what it was, but like he just got the dog and he was just bringing it in for an extra surgery or something. And in the middle of the surgery, the dog died, unfortunately, maybe like bad anesthesia or something. But instead of like, that's like a really personal subject, right? But instead of keeping that to themselves, they made like a couple videos out of it, you know, where it's like, oh, dude, my dog died. And it's just like, it seems so classless. I know Logan Paul classless, right? But it's just like, it's such bad taste, you know, like these people that are on your videos, they're not your friends. They're not people close to you. And it's just like when you're making money, when you're monetizing a video about a dog dying, that's just slimy. And I feel like making a video like this, but not giving like pointers on what to do from the get-go and making this very clear for people. I don't know, man. It just comes off to me like it's just grifty style, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. You know, what do you guys think? Yeah.
I love it here. I can't wait to find more work after Jet, and I'm going home. So now I'd like to try and move on to some practical advice.
Okay, practical advice.
If you are mindful of your money.
Oh, yeah. Take in mind that, like, Dogen, I don't think he hates me, but I don't think he wants to talk to me or associate with me publicly for obvious reasons. So he probably saw my video. I did a reaction video to the first one of these that he did. And my biggest gripe, my biggest complaint was that his video was very preachy and it didn't offer any practical advice. So I wonder what this is going to be.
And take a little bit of time early on to draw up a simple plan, then you can have a wonderful, rewarding life in Japan that will springboard you into your next endeavor here. Disclaimer, everything that I'm about to say is not financial advice.
Why? I hate that you even have to disclaim that. Like, who the fuck? Like, people who think this is serious and they're like, why? I did what he told me. It's like, you guys need to be put into special bus.
All right. So points 1 and 2 are quite basic, but there are also things that I was never explicitly taught, and probably the most important points on this list. So at the risk of alienating the financially literate, here we go. 1, the first thing you need to do when you start working, whether that's in Japan, the United States, wherever it might be, is save up a 3 to 6 month emergency expenses fund.
Yep.
This isn't you need to save up your monthly income 3 to 6 times over, but just 3 to 6 times what you spend each month on the essentials. The combination of rent, food, utilities, transportation, phone bill, etc. It's essential to do this so that if something unexpected happens, which it will, you won't have to go into debt. 2, you just got paid. What's the first thing that you do? Buy a Switch game, get some tonkotsu ramen. Unfortunately, no. The first thing that you do each month is transfer 15% of that money into a savings account that you never get to touch. You need to allocate some of the money that you make each month to savings, because if you don't, you'll never end up saving anything.
Exactly.
Browse Amazon on your phone or walk through Uniqlo like I did and think to yourself, well, I can afford that, because you will be able to. But then you'll wake up 6 months or a year down the road and realize that you've never had more than $1,000 to your name. Naturally, if you have student debt or any other kind of debt, you also need to allocate some of your money each month to paying that off. Okay, now that we have the macro out of the way, I like to...
Okay, so that is really important, and I'm happy that you brought up that advice. Yeah, people say only 10% or whatever, but it's like, dude, start small, you know? Start with 10%. Like, I remember when I first came to Japan, I did like $100 a month, but then I got that part-time job in Chiba, which was about like 400. I'm saying this as if 100 yen equals $400, or like if 100 yen equals $1, because that's what it feels like being in Japan. You want a Big Mac meal, $10, 1,000 yen, $10 kind of thing, right? So like that's how it feels, right? So but like I suggest is if you have a regular job like that, if you don't want to save money, get a part-time job and then put all that money into your savings account, and then you just don't touch that. And then after you pay your bills and everything, then you're like, oh, dude, cool. I have some extra money from my normal job, and I can spend that on whatever I want. You know, that's what I did.
To talk about the micro, some tips that are More specific to the JET program
The
and Interact.
micro.
1. Don't make the mistake of thinking your brand new life in Japan requires brand new Japanese things. Try and get as much stuff as possible. Your rice cooker, your washing
Yes.
machine, your kitchen table.
Yes.
From either your predecessor or a recycle shop.
Yes.
If you're about to start teaching English in Japan, it's likely you're replacing someone else who's just reached the end of their contract. More often than not, that person will be happy to give you everything that you need to get started or sell it to you for next to nothing because they can't take that stuff with them.
That works for if you're in the countryside and stuff, but if you are that works if you're in the countryside, but if you're in the city, you're probably never going to meet who you are replacing. And most of the time, if you're an ALT in the city, they usually give that only to like veteran people or whatever. So more than like, but you can deal with this by either going on Yahoo Auction, which is the eBay of Japan, or they have Mercari, which is like the Craigslist of Japan. And you can buy it online and they'll ship it to you, but you got to be careful because there's scams and stuff sometimes. Or like he said, if you're outside of Tokyo, you can find a recycle shop like Hard Off or whatever, but you got to keep in mind that sometimes they do it's not like a scam where they're selling you something broken, but they'll purposely make the price higher because they know that you're too lazy to go to a different place to buy stuff. So you just got to be on your toes about that. Mind your money and be number one priority, right? Did you know what Homeboy does now for work? I think Dogen is a consultant. He gets paid by companies to consult about, I don't know, stuff. He's talked about it on his live stream before on Twitch. But did you need a visa? Yeah, when I first came to Japan, I was an ALT for a small ALT company. And now you can't, now they give you an instructor's visa, which is only for people that teach in university or public schools. But you can get, if you find another job, you can get a permission to engage in other activities visa stamp. I made a video about it. You just got to go on my profile and you'll find it. But when I first came here, I had a humanities stamp, which lets you basically do like any international related jobs. So I was an ALT during the day, and then I taught English privately for a small company at night. As I was dispatched to companies to teach. So yeah, you can find it, but you just got to go look for it, you know? Is it hard to get a construction or set up jobs during the weekend? I think that if you are, if you know Japanese, the world is your oyster here. So the whole point is that you can circumvent this by learning Japanese before you come here, and it doesn't need to be super, King's level Japanese. It just needs to be conversational and where you can send basic emails where they can understand what you're saying. You don't need to be fucking speaking the Duchess English or whatever, but you got to be able to have them understand exactly what the fuck you're saying. But yeah, if you come over here, you can maybe do, dude, I'm talking about 20 years ago, but now Japan needs people. So if you found another part-time job, maybe you could get that permission to engage. Because the thing is, in order to get that visa stamp to engage in other non-visa related jobs, you need to find a job that's willing to give you a part-time contract that's for a year, that's not for like a month or two. So if you can find that and then bring that to immigration and be like, yeah, this is a job, it's kind of related to what I do, they'll give you yes or no, so
My predecessor sold me his car. I say sold, but he really gave it to me. It was a 15-year-old Mitsubishi mini car that didn't have power windows.
Yeah, and again, Dogen was a jet. Jets are babysat. Like, they basically, the government hires you, instead of like a company, the government hires you to teach for them. So everything's set up to handhold these guys for everything. They give you a place to live, and then the person who's living there that you're replacing usually has that stuff. But if you come here like me, where you're going through like a private English teaching company, which 90% of you guys who teach English are, like, I applied for Jet and I got rejected because I'm too sexy or something. I don't know. But so like, more than likely you're going to have to find all this stuff on your own. They're not going to help you, which is why I get so angry when people talk about Jet, because Jet is basic. It's supposed to be the cream of the crop, the best and smartest people that will ever be allowed to teach English ever. They have like a very, very long and stupid vetting process, but meanwhile they pamper them like crazy, and I don't like that. It's very contradictory.
Didn't have a radio or sound system and probably only had 50 working horsepower, but I got it for $200. You
Yep.
may have seen that I recently got a new car here. What did I do with my old one?
I didn't see it.
I gave it to the local ALT. Again, a lot of
Nice.
the OGs here are happy to help the new recruits, so use that to your advantage.
Yeah,
Lean
dude.
into it. And if you
Yeah.
don't have a predecessor, just go to a recycle shop. There's no need to spend 5% of your monthly income on a new microwave when you can get one. and
Exactly.
half the other things that you need for
Exactly.
a fraction of that from the local recycle shop, which
Yeah,
every
Dogen,
Japanese
go.
city has. And go beyond kitchenware and appliances. Get some of your clothes from a local used clothing store.
Yeah, that's
Japan has
right.
a ton of these, and because Japanese people are quite fashionable and very good at taking care of things, you can use them to get high quality clothes.
Yeah, but if you're
for
fat,
very
you gotta
cheap.
buy from the
I used
fat
to do
guy
this all
shop.
the time
Luckily,
during
they have
study
fat
abroad.
guy shops
I had to
here.
buy a winter coat here. I wasn't prepared for how cold it gets here during February. Could have gone to the North Face in Harajuku and bought a brand new coat for $200, but I went to the
200?
used clothing store right next
They're
door
like
and got
1,000 now.
something equally nice for 40. I still do this. This is the same shirt I've been wearing for the past 9 years on YouTube. I shoot, I
Yep.
wash it, it works. This lens I'm shooting with right now, I bought it used on Mercari for 15% off.
Yep,
Get what
Mercari,
you
the
can
Craigslist,
for
I told
free.
you.
And for everything else, settle for used. 2. Konbini Japanese convenience stores, they're fantastic. They live up to their reputation. The food is surprisingly good, and they're always way cheaper than restaurants. You can get 2 rice balls, 2 onigiri, for about 300 yen, which is the equivalent of about $2. That's reasonable. That being said, if you buy online in bulk, you can have a big bowl of oatmeal with nuts and honey and none of the preservatives for about 80 yen, or about 50 US cents.
Yeah, and also, guys, if you don't care about the preservative stuff, most supermarkets, like an hour or two before they close, all of their deli food is like 30 to 50% off. I'm guessing a lot of you that are moving here don't know how to cook. You should learn how to cook. Dude, I learned how to cook from playing Zelda. So if I can do that from a video game, you guys can do that too. And it's just better. It's way clean. I'm fat, but one of the reasons I never give myself shit is because most of the stuff I eat is very clean, and it's very good for me for the most part. But yeah, like he said too, you can eat cheap and easily here, but you got to be creative about it. You got to be on top of your shit.
And over the course of a month, that's a difference of about 50 US dollars. On a take-home income of $1,500 a month, that's huge, especially, again, if you're trying to pay off debt in the US. Takeaway point.
Oh yeah, one nice thing though is that if you come here as an English teacher, you're either going to work at a private English school, which means that you're teaching English from noon till nighttime, or you're going to be an ALT where you're teaching or you're going to be an ALT, or you're going to work for a kindergarten, which those are during the daytime. But most of the time, if you're an ALT, they make you have to eat the school lunch. You can't bring your own lunch because they want you to eat with the kids and everything. So the good news is that like Japanese school food lunch, like the kids here hate it, but I love it, man. Like compared to American school lunch, it is so good. And it's so fresh, and it is ma'am. So let's check it out. Anyway,
When it
let's
comes
keep
to
going.
food and daily consumables like tissues and toilet paper, buy
yeah.
what you can
Buy
online
bulk,
in bulk.
yeah.
This not only saves you money, but also countless trips to the supermarket, which frees
exactly.
up time for more productive things, such as studying Japanese, which is point 3. Consciously incorporating
Study
Japanese
Japanese.
studies into your daily routine can actually make a big difference in your financial situation. Studying kanji or vocab or grammar every night for an hour and a half necessarily means that you're spending less time on heading out to karaoke with the other ALTs or watching the new Hollywood movie on Amazon Prime. Little wins like this, 300 yen here, 500 yen there, make all the difference. And many English teaching programs in Japan, such as JET, often provide free Japanese study material.
He's talking as if we're all on Jet, but none of us are going to be on Jet. None of you guys are going to be on Jet, okay? Just don't... Dude, Jet doesn't like people. They like people that are... I think Jet specifically looks at your background to see if you came from a financially well-off family. I don't mean rich, but like upper middle class. Like all of my friends that joined Jet, I don't know a single one of them that was poor. They all they were all like chill people, but they all came from like decent, parents are married still. They have their own house. I think it's more of like an economic thing where they judge you versus like how good your fucking test scores were kind of thing. They want to see that you came from a stable house kind of thing. But, yeah, guys, if you are coming to Japan, you should learn Japanese, or at least you should start studying before you come to Japan. And, I always say, look, if you want to look it up for free on how I learn Japanese, I'm a translator. That's my job. So if you want to learn how I learn Japanese for free, just Google all Japanese all the time. All Japanese all the time. And you can actually see the backed up websites. All Japanese, all the TI.me. Somebody backed up the website. The website's been deleted for a while. Go to the table of contents, start from the beginning, and just read your way down. And that's how I learned. Now, if you want to get the more streamlined version of that, then you can join my Patreon, which I bet Dogen will shout out his own Patreon in this video. But you can join my Patreon. I set up my whole Japanese learning system based on what I learned from AJAT, and it's only $35 a month, $35 a month. And it includes a package from me every month. I send you guys a manga. So the longer you stay in that program, you're going to build up a little library of books at your house. And also you get access to all the cool stuff that's in my Patreon that will help you when it comes to building your environment for immersion, as well as giving you tool advice. And plus other people that are learning Japanese are also in that part of the section as well. If you're watching this on Twitch or you're watching this on YouTube, in the chat right now, just type in !Patreon. And if you're watching this when it's not live, then just go down to the video description and the Patreon link's down there below. A lot of people, they want to sell Japanese as a grift. They want you to try to be their customer for as long as possible. I love money, just like everybody else, but my goal with my lessons is that you learn Japanese and then you get out of here. You go be free in the woods. I'm just a stepping stone for you to learn Japanese onto starting your Japanese life here. So, yeah, that's what it's there for. There's no snake oil. There's no grifting. I just want you to become as fluent as possible before you even get here. And you can do that, but take in mind, you got to put in the work. You actually got to watch the video lessons that I made, okay? And sorry, what is this? If you're here on a student visa, can you work part-time as an ALT? Probably, yeah, maybe, but you have to find the company in order to do that. And I don't know, most companies that do that are sketch. If you're here on a student visa, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get a part-time job at like a Juku or like a private English teaching company. Yeah, anyway, let's keep going.
Materials. These aren't always the absolute highest quality resources.
But yeah, don't expect to come to Japan and have Japanese lessons. Okay, you need to come here. You need to immerse yourself. If you want to know about like specifically what this program's about that I'm talking about for my stuff, just go to my YouTube profile and go down to Learning Japanese. There's a playlist there. Click on the first video. It's free. And, there's a bunch of other videos about the method of how I learned Japanese, which is just simply immersion plus flashcards. But if a guy like me could do it, I'm pretty sure you guys can do it too. But it doesn't need to be intimidating. It could be fun. And that's the point I'm getting at.
But that's okay, because when it comes to learning Japanese or any language, the most important thing is immersion. And when you're working your very first job, it should be a given that you can't afford the best across the board. And this leads me to point 4, which is choose your battles. Maybe you're a huge gamer.
Choose your battles.
Maybe you have to have a PS5. Then buy one, ideally used. Maybe you derive most of your pleasure from food. Then have that ramen. Maybe have it every week. It's okay to indulge. You just can't indulge in everything. When you make your first big purchase or commit to a series of smaller regular purchases, write a note to yourself that says, no, you promised it would just be this, and then pin it to your wall. You can afford to live a little, and you should, even on a small salary. But you can only do this if you're being strategic, if you're being selective about the other aspects of your lifestyle. Point 5 is international transfers. Before I came to Japan on the JET program.
Oh yeah, guys, I should mention too that he brought up a good point about how it's like, Dude, I live in Tokyo right now, right? And I live in the heart of the city. I live in the red light district, and my rent is about like 100,000 yen after utilities and everything, right? Like, well, more than 100,000 yen, but it's roughly like 111,000 yen or whatever, right? So, um, but the thing is that I have a really small place, right? Like my place is not big by any means, but I live in the center of the city, and oppositely, so it's like, what is it? I'm very conveniently located. I'm by Shinjuku Station, and Shinjuku Station is like one of the biggest train stations in all of Japan. So if I ever wanted to go somewhere, I just got to walk over to the train station, and I can get on the train and go to any part of the city, any part of the country, really. And so, but the compromise here is that my apartment is small. But because my apartment's small, that means I literally can't buy all this stuff. And I think that a lot of like a pitfall that people fall into when they first move here is they get a big apartment, like because it's cheaper if you're not in the city, and then they just try to fill it with stuff. And it's a lot easier to fill it with stuff when you're out every day and you're seeing all these other people and all the stuff that they bought, and you're like, oh, I want it too. I want all this shit too. And so it's one of those things, guys. You got to be very cautious, okay? Like, and that's why it's like if you get your money from your salary and you're paying all your bills, all your rent, all whatever debt you got, like he said, you put like every month, it's like a bill. You put your money into your savings account that you don't touch, and then everything else you can spend on whatever the fuck you want, you know? But it's one of those things where if you have, this is very important, and like right now I'm coloring a journal, okay? Because like I like having it. I have a, like, you can't see it, but I have a big phone book sized journal over there on my shelf right now, and I think keeping a journal is very, very important. Now, I'll make a video about that eventually, about why I make a journal and how I do it and why you guys should do it too. But the most important thing for right now that I'm trying to reference here is that when you have a journal, you write in it every day. And when you write in it every day, you can easily calculate how much money you spent at the end of that day and put that at the top of the journal page. And so that's another thing too. People don't keep track of their finances, and if they do, they get a spreadsheet. They don't look at it. And if you're conscious about this and you're writing it down every day, you're gonna notice more when you're spending money. And so, yeah, that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Program. I went to a Bank of America in Seattle and converted my US dollar savings into Japanese yen. And then once I came here and set up my new bank account, I had my parents go to that same Bank of America and send it to me via a wire transfer. All in, the process took about 3 hours, and between the conversion, the outgoing transfer fee, the incoming transfer fee, it cost about $100. And during my time on Jet, I and the other foreigners I knew semi-regularly sent money to and from our bank accounts back home. Sometimes this was paying off student debt. Sometimes it was trying to make a purchase that, for whatever reason, required a non-Japanese credit card. But again, going to the bank and setting up these transfers takes a lot of time and effort and ends up costing a small fortune.
Yeah,
it's
wire
not an
transfers
exaggeration
suck.
to say that by the time I finished my 3 years on Jet, I had probably spent close to half a month's salary just on international transfer fees.
Why?
And this brings me to Wise. This is an ad plug.
Motherfucker, I knew it. He was just plugging the fucking thing. Guys, trust me, like, I don't know about you, but I did not have to transfer money back home. I transferred money from my bank, but I didn't transfer it here. What I did was I just used my what was it? I had like a bank, fuck, I don't even remember now. But I had what was it? What was it? The Wells Fargo or something. I had one of those bank accounts, and you can use your ATM card at 7-Elevens and the post office here, and they only charge you like $3 or whatever, at least back then or whatever. So if you're transferring big sums of money, which I don't know why he was, but if you're transferring big sums of money from America, again, this is the privilege thing. Maybe his parents were supporting him while he was in ALT. And I don't mean to shoot shoot down all the good advice you're saying, Dogen, because I know you're watching this, but it's just like, again, like the whole sending money across like things or whatever. Like, I feel like he made this video just for Wise. Like how long is this segment that he's going to talk about for Wise? Yeah, we're going to skip this. I don't care. Your sponsorship, that's not my sponsorship.
2 more points that tie into each other. First,
Like, if you guys are coming here and you need to transfer money in bulk for whatever reason to America, then, yeah, I don't know. Figure it out.
and this is a drum I've been beating for a while, but it is critical that you build up your skill set while teaching English in Japan,
Yes.
such that when you reach the end of your contract, you can move into a better position. I recently finished this, Chris Broad's book, 10 Years in the Land of the Rising.
I have to say, I read that book too, or at least I didn't read that book. I read 3 chapters in that book, but it's really good. And I wonder if he wrote it with AI, because it's really good. And God damn it, I hate how good this book is. It's fun.
Rising Sun, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And I remember thinking to myself while reading it, this is the perfect example. Not only the various things that Chris went out of his way to do on Jet, taking part in the Japanese speech competition 2 years in a row and making dozens, if not hundreds of videos for his YouTube channel, but the book itself. How easy would it have been for Chris, the creator of the most popular and respected YouTube channel in Japan, to just not write a book, to instead keep making videos for his incredibly successful YouTube channel. But even in that position, he pushed himself. In addition to creating those videos, he wrote a hysterical 300-page book. And
Dude, I'm calling it out right now. I don't think the book was written entirely by him. I think he had a ghostwriter or he used AI, you know? I mean, I don't know Chris that well, but he wrote this book right when, like, AI was coming out. And then on top of that, like, there's plenty of famous quote-unquote influencers who have people ghostwrite their shit. And so if you're like, how could this guy make up all this time to write this book? He had help, Dogen. That's why.
this is the mindset that I think you need to try and be in when you come to Japan. Because when you come to Japan, you will feel like you're at the top of your game. Like you finally made it here. And in that moment, you might let your guard down. But your first year in Japan, your first 3 years in Japan, they'll be over like that. When that time comes, if you have
Nice
not
snap.
been actively building your skill set up on the side, you'll be in for a very rude awakening.
So, Dogen, are you going to give any practical advice on what skills people should build up while they're teaching?
I actually took a hit to my pay when I finished JET and started working at a juku, but it was the only place I could find a job because I didn't have the teaching qualifications necessary to teach at a private school or at a university. On the other hand, if you do actively sharpen your sword and try and get that teaching qualification, or study for the kanji kente, or make a YouTube channel for your voice acting career, or just try and do a little bit of creative writing every single day, then you will find opportunities waiting for you at the end of your contract here. Which leads me to my final point. As you become more competent and start saving a little bit of money, there will be a point where it's actually better to ignore the advice I give in this video. When you first get here, you probably can't afford to...
Okay, he didn't give any practical advice. So, here, I'm going to give you the practical advice. So while you are being an ALT or while you're teaching English, what are some skills that you could build up while you're doing that? So you're like, I don't know what I should do. What should I do? Well, automatically, like you said, save money, study Japanese. But you shouldn't just study Japanese. You should immerse yourself in Japanese. Try to be as Japanese as possible the first couple of years you're here. That means immersion environment, studying kanji, learning how to read and write kanji, very important. Speaking, like get immersed, everything. Duh, goes without saying. But what are some skills you can learn on top of learning Japanese? Well, you got to think about, do you want to be with people or do you not want to be with people? If you don't want to be with people, think of something that you can do inside. You could either do something that's like programming related, and people say, well, AI is going to take over programming. Well, figure out a way to use AI to do programming. Same thing with art. AI is going to take over art. Well, figure out a way to use AI to do an art job or whatever, right? And if you want to be around people, you get those skills up somehow. If you want to be working at a Japanese company, most companies that are Japanese, they don't give a shit about qualifications when it comes to JLPT or like other Japanese language tests. If you can walk the walk and talk the talk, meaning you go into that fucking that interview and you can read everything that they give you, if you're speaking fluent machine gun style Japanese, they're not going to really question if you need like a qualification like a Japanese language test thing. If you're not that good at Japanese, then and you want to show your stuff, then it's probably good to get all those qualifications if you feel like you're not confident in your own abilities. So JLPT, JBT, the kanji kente, all that stuff. It's better to get those qualifications. But if you want to be around people, you got to think about what kind of job can you do while you're helping people, and you got to think of it as like get your foot in the door. Like the guy who made who destroyed the Last of Us franchise, Neil Cuckman. That guy was originally like just like a little like tiny designer guy or something, and then he became the vice president of the company. So if you can find a way to get your foot in the door at a company and get kind of exposed to people that want to see you around more, that want to give you more responsibilities, that's the thing to do. So if there's something that you like, it's a lot easier to pinpoint that. So it's like if you like, for example, video games or something, try to work at a video game company. What could you do there? Well, I don't know. Try to teach English. Try to teach English privately, or if it's like game design or look at go into ChatGPT and say, what are positions usually at a game company? And then say, oh, what do you need for qualifications for that? Okay, well, what if you're a freelance guy and you're working as an English teacher? Like what can you do part-time to build up those qualifications? Because most of the time when it comes to programming or art stuff or related shit like that, it's better to have a portfolio that you can show off versus nothing, right? But if let's say you want to be a teacher or whatever, right? Like you really like teaching, you want to keep teaching, you could get a master's degree. A lot of universities here and high schools, they'll hire you if you got a master's degree. If you want to work at an international school, though, you need a teaching license from your main country. Some country, I know Canada does it. I don't know if the U.S. does it, but some places you can do this all online with them. And so that's one thing that you should keep in mind. Because if you want to keep teaching English, but you want to get better salary or whatever, then it's better to just... what is it? It's like, it's better to go into university or the private school sector. And that'll give you a lot more money. Same thing here, too. If you work for a private school, they will, at least in Japan, they will sponsor you to get a teacher's license in Japan so you can teach technically at their school. I know one YouTuber who already did it that way. And then it's just like, yeah, so you could either get your qualifications up, or you can find out what kind of place you want to work at and then think of the skills there. Hell, you might even want to start your own company or whatever, too. But the whole point is like, you got to think about English teaching as like just it's a stepping stone. You're only supposed to do it temporarily until you can find something that pays you more. And more than just pays you more, it gives you more responsibility. It lets you be around Japanese people in like a stronger capacity. Like when you're an English teacher working full time, you're basically a paid tape recorder. You get paid to just be nice. You're a clown, pretty much. What do you think I am? Some kind of clown? You're Joe Pesci, pretty much. Baseball bat, cornfield. So it's just the thing is, it's just like for me right now, like I have permanent residence in Japan, which means I can do whatever job I want, and I hate being at one place only. I can't. I got ADHD. My dog, he's always barking at me. It's like, I've got. For me, like I can't stay in one place. I get bored too much. So I have like 5 different jobs that I do right now, and 2 of them pay the bills fine, and the other ones are just basically that I do sometimes for fun. I'm mainly a teacher and a translator here. So, but for me it works because I get to set like my own schedule. I get to set my own pricing, and I don't need to do this bullshit where I'm just like, it's office politics. Like I'm straightforward. I'm blunt from the beginning with a lot of people, and some people don't like it, but some people do, and those are the people I work with. So it depends on what you really want to do, guys. And the thing is that the more, when you're an English teacher, the more you get out, the more that you expose yourself to people on the train. The more that you meet people and you're exposed to what kind of jobs they do and what they're doing and stuff, it'll give you more of an idea of what you want to do. And like one of the biggest crimes in this in this world is that high schoolers or even middle schoolers, they don't get to go and check out these workplaces to see what it's like. It's like, hey, this this is a factory. This is what's going on. This is like a chemical engineer plant. This is what they do. This is a power plant. This is a train, like a train station. You know, like they don't get the chance to see what these jobs are before they have to pick a career, right? And I feel like if they spent at least like one day out of every week when the kids go to school going on a field trip to all these different places to see what jobs people do, people would have a lot more clear vision of what kind of job they want to try, at least to start off. And this is another point too, guys, is that there are plenty of people that have a career for like 10 years, whatever, right? And they pivot and they switch and they go to something else. And as long as you're willing to take the pay grade, you're always going to be able to find options. You have to be optimistic about this. You can't be pessimism and nihilism does not work when you're an adult, okay? You got to be optimistic. You got to be positive about this because the alternative just doesn't lead to anything, okay? You know, it's very important. So anyway, let's keep going with this.
To buy a printer, which is fine because...
Hey, what's going on?
Which leads me to a channel for your voice acting career or just try and do a little bit of creative writing every single day, then you will find opportunities waiting for you at the end of your contract here. Which leads me to my final point. As you become more competent and start saving a little bit of money, there will be a point where it's actually better to ignore the advice I give in this video. When you first get here, you probably can't afford to buy a printer, which is fine because you can go to your local kombini and print things out there for 10 yen. Straight out the gates, when you don't have additional skills or any savings, that's your better option. But once you start making serious progress toward that teaching degree, or your voice acting, or photography, modeling, something that has the potential to generate income, and you have some savings, then it's time to reevaluate. At that point, it might be better to bite the bullet and buy a used printer because in doing so, you're also buying yourself time that you can allocate to that side endeavor.
Printers
and that time might now be more valuable to you than the money that you could save if you didn't buy a printer and instead just kept going to the kombini once or twice a week to print things out for the local eikaiwa club. This is important to remember because for most of us,
but again, like, you know, you'll find ways to inch it in or whatever. I get what he's saying, right? Like, time is money. But at the same time, you're going to go to the convenience store anyway. You know?
Jet program, Interact, other entry-level eikaiwa positions, these were never the end goal. They were a way for us to get our foot in the door. And for getting your foot in the door, they are still viable options. Depopulation, inflation, over-tourism, these things are making it more difficult to save money on programs like Jet and Interact. But if you love Japan, you can still make it happen. If you go into the situation thoughtfully, buy used, plan your compromises, build up that emergency fund, save a little bit of money each month, and plan for the future sooner than later, then not only can you avoid crippling financial stress, but you can have a rewarding life here that makes you optimistic about the future. So if you're watching this, by all means come. I probably couldn't dissuade you anyway. Just be mindful of your hand and the cards on the table. If you do this, you can have your cake, you can have that wagyu, and eat it too.
Wow. That was such a great way to end the video. Oh my god. I can have the wagyu and eat it too, huh? Yeah, there you go. that just reminds me of like the Reddit post I saw on Twitter or something that somebody snipped out where it's like if you could meet if you could meet anyone in history, who would you meet? And like you think it's going to be like Gandhi or Martin Luther King or something, and this one guy's like, if I could meet anyone again in history, I would meet my wife. She died a couple years ago of cancer. Even if it was just for a day, I would love to just spend it in bed, holding her, embracing her, making sweet, passionate love to her again, and just feeling that sense that everything was going to be all right, and that there was still something for me to care about in the world. That's who I would meet. And then the reply to that comment is, yeah, if I could meet anyone, I want to bang that guy's wife too. You know, like, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing you want to do. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, you know what? I filled this video full of negative, scary stuff that's supposed to scare you away. But also, don't listen to me. And I don't know, man. It's just like, it's such like a fucking, I don't know. It's, I wouldn't say go far as far to say emotionally manipulative, but it is kind of in a way, right? It's like I'm saying all this negative shit to drag you along, but at the end of the video, don't worry, it doesn't matter. Haha, joke, JK, LOL. You thought I was serious? What are you, fucking moron? You dumbass. Oh my god. Anyway, go sign up for my Patreon and buy shit from my sponsor, you fucking prick bastard. Anyway, I don't know, man. It's just, it's like, yeah, I get it. You know, like buy prop pills. You know. I'm actually trying to sell my printer to anyone who is interested. There you go, Fuller. But anyway, yeah, guys, that was the fucking reaction video for this. Dogen, I'm sorry if I was too mean to you, but I know you won't reply publicly. But if you do, feel free to tell me how I fucked up too. And yeah, anyway. You know, Dogen, I'm happy you took my advice about giving practical advice, but go deeper, you know? If you're going to make these long, drawn-out videos to rage bait people, at least give some more practical advice. This was good, but you could have given like 30% more, especially when it comes to what other skills people should think of garnering while they're still at their English teaching job. Anyway, I'm Papa Tikyo. This has been Tikyo Reacts every Friday, 8 a.m. Tokyo time, and I will see you guys on the live stream. I'm still live, by the way. It's just, this is for a recording, and I will see you guys on the next one. Stay black and Otsukaresama deshita. Yeah, buddy. Outro time, baby. Woo!
It's time you bit the bullet and started caring about something with all your heart and energy. But you can't care about it if you're always holding yourself back in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah, why y'all put cheese on my cheeseburger?
I'm sorry, what?
Shut your bitch ass